Destination Imagination Challenge Program webinar. In today's session, we're going to be talking about what the Destination Imagination Program is, what its history has been in Newton, Massachusetts, and we'll be going over some of the talking points about whether or not this program is a good fit for your child and your family. To start, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Matthew Miller. I am a parent that lives in the Memorial Spalding neighborhood of Newton. I have 3 children, one of which goes to Oak Hill and the other 2 attend Memorial Spalding Elementary School. I am a volunteer. I do not get paid to do this. I am simply passionate about the Destination Imagination Program. Before I get started, I also wanted to let you know briefly how the Destination Imagination Program landed in Newton. I have participated in the program for over 23 years. When I moved to Newton, I realized that it did not exist here, regardless of the fact that it existed in many other regions in the state of Massachusetts. So about 6 years ago, I started the DI program, and we've been growing ever since then. So again, these are the talking points we're going to go through, and at the very end, there will be time if you have questions, and if you're listening to this as a recording, I'll be available to discuss anything that you want to over the phone. We also have a frequently asked questions sheet we'll be forwarding as well. So to start with, what is Destination Imagination and what is it that we do? So Destination Imagination gets student teams to solve open-ended challenges and present their solutions at tournaments. So we like to think of this as Olympics for the brain. The teams that are put together learn skills such as project management, collaboration, conflict resolution, and creative and critical thinking. And we'll be breaking that down a little further. We have about 200,000 participants annually that cover the globe, 1.5 million alumni that come back to volunteer and help manage teams. We also have about 38,000 volunteers, myself being one of them, worldwide that help this nonprofit take off and reach as many students as possible. Just to give you an idea of where we are situated, there are 48 states that participate in the DI program, and about 30 countries, although that's growing every year. Regionally speaking, in Massachusetts, we have one of the larger regions for Destination Imagination. In a typical year, we'll send about 665 teams where they will be competing in the DI program. We are divided into 9 regions. Newton falls into Region 8. Other cities that are within our region include Dover, Sudbury, Medfield, and other similar areas that are close by and are within our region. Newton DI specifically has done a great job in the history of Destination Imagination. We've been around for 5 years, and we've sent 4 teams to global competition. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in just a few minutes, but essentially think about World Series of baseball. This is our World Series. So we're very proud of our accomplishments, and we hope to get your child and family involved. Let's talk a little bit more about what the specifics of the program look like and how the teams are set up. So on any team, there are 2 to 7 members. Students from kindergarten all the way through university can participate. Within each team, you have 2 adults that are volunteer team managers. The team managers help students stay on track. However, they do not directly help the team develop its solution to the DI challenge. Team managers are often faculty members or parents. Just a quick note there, right now our program is mainly run by volunteer parents. However, it is our goal as the program grows to slowly get this more involved in the curriculum at Newton Public Schools and to eventually have faculty that will help us to run the program within the school day. So the logistics of the program are such that throughout the season, which lasts from September to March, The teams are expected to meet weekly, and the time commitment varies per team. Typically, for a competitive team, it would be a 2-hour minimum weekly commitment. That's how long it takes typically to solve the challenge within the season. If you have a younger team, obviously they're going to be slightly less competitive, so we encourage team managers to make the decisions that are best for the kids on that team. High school teams, conversely, would meet more often. Typically, as it gets closer to the competition date in March, the teams will step up their meeting times and will begin to do dress rehearsals or robotics practices, and the meeting times will become more intense and more frequent. The location of the meetings are typically held within one of the team members' homes. Though meeting at a school is certainly a possibility on a case-by-case basis, parents discuss and agree on meeting schedules ahead of time. Meetings can be held on weekends or weekdays, depending upon the schedules of the children and parents involved. So I mentioned earlier that a team manager is a parent volunteer for now until we get faculty involved. A volunteer program such as this relies on the parents to run as team managers. Each team has one, but ideally 2 managers, and I like to think of it as a scoutmaster for Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. The team managers host the team meetings. However, they are not allowed to generate ideas or help the team solve challenges in any way. Instead, the manager acts as a guide, keeping the team on track and moving forward. Team managers are provided with a detailed guide to use throughout the year, so you don't have to develop activities on your own. We have a lot of questions from first-year team managers every year that want to help out, they want to volunteer, want to be a part of the program, but they're nervous because they've never done DI before, or they don't do robotics, they're not a performance artist. That's okay. The DI program gives you step-by-step instructions each meeting on what papers to print, what activities to do, and how to guide your team to a solution. The team manager's time commitment it averages about 5 hours a week, including meeting time, prep, and communication. Some managers are going to spend more time, others are going to spend less time. With 2 managers, and the reason why we always encourage that is the work can be split between the team managers. Being a team manager is highly rewarding. Obviously, it's a lot of work. However, it is a chance to work with the kids and watch them get excited about a project and really take initiative on their own. You're going to watch them develop their roles as leaders, role minders, builders, and imagineers. You'll be seeing your child in a very different milieu and supporting her intellectual growth. And every year I have adults and tell me that as team managers, they say that they have a very close bond with their child that lasts even beyond the years that their child has participated in the DI program. If you're not a team manager, you're still involved in the program as a parent of a DI participant. You are expected to drop off and pick up, share in a snack schedule, and run errands for supplies, and occasionally step in to help with children as building of POPs or robots or structures commences. Typically, the parents don't have to meet up as a group a few times throughout the year to agree on scheduling and agree on tournament logistics. Aside from that, as long as you're able to email on a weekly basis, that is it. Most importantly, there are non-intervention rules that allow the children to solve problems together. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but essentially, as a parent of a DI participant, you are not allowed to provide solutions, answers, or help in any way with the actual problem or challenge that they're solving. Let's go into a little bit more specific information as to what these challenges are. There are 7 different challenges that the teams can choose from at the beginning of the year. And each challenge is worked on for 2 years in advance by a team of educators and subject matter experts. They are in the subjects of technical, scientific, structural, fine arts, improv, service learning, and early learning. So you're going to find that the team is going to gravitate towards one, and you might have a child that you're already thinking might gravitate towards one over the other. Let's go over some of the program overview details. As I mentioned earlier, this season takes place from August through May. And so they're going to spend that time developing and practicing their solutions. They will be assessed at the regional, state, and or country tournament level. So just to break that down, if a team gets first place in their region, they will move on to compete against all the first place teams in Massachusetts. If they get first place in Massachusetts, they will move on to compete against teams around the world. The one thing we do like to let parents know about in advance is that the regional tournament day in March is a full day commitment for families. We don't have the date now, but in September, we will know the date and we will let you know in advance. So if there's any scheduling conflicts, we'll be able to work around that from the get-go. Let's move on to the why. By now, you've heard that there's a big time commitment, that there is a level of parent involvement. So now I wanted to flip the coin and tell you why all of that time commitment and involvement is worth it. And for someone that's been doing this for 22 years as a participant, as a coach, and as a parent of a DI participant, I've narrowed it down to the 4 main reasons that as a parent should convince you to enroll your child in this program. First and foremost is what I've been saying all along, the idea of independent thinking. We've mentioned this non-interference policy. The team are the only individuals that can add ideas and work on solutions. Thus, they have to learn how to solve problems on their own. They're going to learn what it means to make mistakes, and you as a parent will learn how to let go. They're going to take risks and ownership in a way that the world rarely lets them. And we all know that in the classroom and many times out of the classroom, adults are constantly telling children where to go, what to do, how to think. The DI program will allow them to think completely independently. The second bullet point here is regarding project management. Now, we don't call it project management during the season, and the children don't realize that that's what they're doing. But along the way, that's exactly what they're learning. The skills of budgeting, timeline, and leadership. Those are all skills that we work on throughout the season. In fact, I recently read an article about colleges that instead of the traditional essay, or in addition to the traditional essay, they're bringing children onto campus, putting them in random groups and seeing how they work together to solve a problem together or a challenge together. So this is really giving them life skills from an early age so that it becomes instinctual and they're ready for the world when they graduate. The third bullet point here is exposure to new things. And in this example, I like to compare Destination Imagination to Lego Leagues and FIRST Robotics. If you're not familiar, Newton has a very renowned Lego League called the Ligerbots that go and compete and do a great job every year. We are different from that program in that we are not strictly robotics. We are not strictly performing arts. Rather, we combine a little bit of everything within each challenge. There is a focus. So for instance, your child, let's say they're robotics geared, they like to do robotics, they like to build robots. They can go into the engineering challenge. However, you still need to write a script and build costumes. It is a smaller portion of their challenge, but it's still a requirement. Conversely, if you have a child that's a performer and they love to be on stage, they're going to have to do mostly performing arts, but there is still a technical component to their challenge. So I like to tell parents that if you have a child that only wants to do robotics and your only concern is getting that child exposed to as much robotical prowess as possible, then this might not be the best program for you. If, however, you would like your kid to delve into an area that they're interested in and learn about new areas that they never knew they were interested in, this is the right approach. And in my years of doing this, I've seen shy kids who love robotics learn how to perform. I've also seen the opposite. When I was a performer, I didn't know anything about robotics, and this program taught me about it. Finally, there's something we haven't talked about yet, which is the concept of an instant challenge. So in addition to the central challenge we've been talking about that students work on for 4 to 6 months and present in front of a panel of judges, they're also required on the day of competition to perform an on-the-spot challenge. That means that the team will walk into a room and have 10 minutes to complete a challenge that they have never seen before. They can practice leading up to the challenge, but on the day of, they will have to either build something or act something or solve some sort of challenge that they've never seen before. And thus, they really learn the idea of working together, what it means to be a team, and how thinking in a strategic way and taking risks are both helpful in the real world and helpful for being successful. So I believe we have one on the next slide. So imagine you're on a team and you walk into a room. Oh, actually, it's further down. So in a minute, we're going to actually see an instant challenge, and you're going to get an idea of what it looks like. So keep that in mind. I'm already talked about the fact that teams choose one of 7 challenges, and then they go to the tournament and present. Again, the top scoring teams advance, eventually going to global finals if they continue to rise to first or second place, and then attend global finals in May. All right, we are going to go through what the team challenges were for 2015. This is the part that many parents are most interested in. Again, this season, 2015, ended. I think this will give you an idea of what the challenges look like and how complicated they are and or how interested you feel your child would be in one of these challenges. They will be similar in scope as the ones we're hearing about this year for the 2016 season, which starts in September. So the first is the technical challenge. In 2015, children had to design and build a vehicle that was able to carry at least one team member across the presentation site multiple times. And the vehicle had to change its propulsion system and vehicle movement method during the presentation. They also had to create and present a story of change. The scientific challenge last year blended the idea of research and curiosity. They needed to research the ways that camouflage are used by organisms in nature. They showcase the camouflage research in the visible appearance of an organism. They'll create and present a story with a plot twist that is caused by the use of camouflage. And they also apply camouflage methods to an original team-designed and created set piece or prop. The structural or engineering challenge last year was to design and build a structure that both supports weight and is a musical instrument. And when I say support weight, some teams are holding over 1,000 pounds. It's pretty amazing. They have to play a musical solo using the structure as an instrument, and they have to tell a story with at least one musical character while they're placing the weights on their structure. In the Fine Arts or Performing Arts Challenge, they have to present a story set on Earth in a team-chosen time period. They have to discover live on stage which of the 3 suspect characters is responsible for the mystery. They have to include a techniclue that helps solve the mystery, and they have to present in the style of traverse staging, which is similar to theater in the round. The improv challenge last year required teams to research challenge-provided confined spaces and create and present a 4-minute improv presentation within a confined space. The Service Learning Challenge, known as Project Outreach, encouraged the kids to use the creative process to identify, design, plan, and carry out a project that addresses a real community need. They have to then carry out at least one community event that is designed to help meet their project goals and create an effective team to help meet the project goals. And they present a live presentation to let the audience know about their community need and how their solution addressed that goal. Finally, our Rising Stars Challenge is for children in grades K through 2. This is an early learning challenge, and the most important thing for you to know about this challenge is that unlike everything else, this challenge is not scored. The teams are still encouraged to attend the day of the tournament. They still have an instant challenge, and they still present live on stage. The big difference is they only get positive remarks, they get a standing ovation, and we make them feel loved and wonderful. The idea of Rising Stars is to introduce young children to the program without the intensity of having to compete. I promised you an instant challenge. Again, an instant challenge is an on-the-spot challenge that kids need to work on in a short amount of time. And here's an example. This one's called Flying Feather. You might be on a team and you walk into a room and you're asked to build the tallest possible structure, place the feather on top, and then blow the feather off to land as far away as possible. You'd have 5 minutes to use your teamwork, creativity, and innovation skills to build the structure with the materials provided. You then have one chance to blow the feather as far as you can. The scene is as follows. You have been asked to build a new prop for the sequel to The Muppets. The structure must be a freestanding on the tabletop and must be as tall as possible so that the feather can fly a long distance. After the 5-minute build time, the height of the structure will be measured. You will then place the feather on the top of the structure, and with one large puff of air, see how far the feather will fly. And the materials waiting for you on the table would include aluminum foil, 2 paper clips, 4 straws, 3 sheets of paper, 4 pipe cleaners, 1 label, and a feather. And yes, third grade kids as young as 3rd grade are asked to solve these challenges, and it is quite amazing what they can do when they work together. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have volunteers that run each tournament. They act as judges or appraisers for all the teams that come. These are local volunteers who have been trained, and when you are a Massachusetts Destination Imagination team, each team does provide an appraiser, and that's something that as the Newton DI coordinator, I help with. Let's talk a little bit about how teams are formed. So hopefully by now you've heard enough to determine whether or not this program is a good fit for your child and for your lifestyle. There are 2 ways that teams can be formed. And depending on when you're listening to this, whether it's early on in your planning for the next year, or if we're already within the school year and things are underway, that could influence your decision. The first way to form a team, and the best way, most efficient way, is for you to come to the determination that your child would like to participate, and then form a team based on your availability and your child's interests. So to give you an example, we had one Newton team from a Newton public school that was interested, and they reached out to other boys and girls in that grade who were interested in the robotics challenge and were available to meet on Saturday mornings. Once they found those parents that were interested, they shared the details, all registered together, and thus they formed their own team. Once they were registered, I was able to account for that on my end. Now, you might not know in advance who other parents are that are interested, or you might not have the ability or time to form your own team. You certainly don't have to. You'll be able to register on your own, and I'll give you those specifics in just a moment, and I will be forming the teams for you. So I base them on your location, the age of your child, and the interest of your child, as well as schedule. We try our best to form teams of kids that live close to each other, ideally in the same school, and have similar interests and similar schedules. The caveat here is that there are so many factors that it's definitely not as efficient as doing this on your own. I might get a team together that is the same age as your child, but they might not be in the same school, or they might not have the same availability as you do, which leads to a little bit of headache when you're trying to accommodate schedules. So again, if it's early enough in the season, I would encourage you to start thinking about this, talking to friends and other parents within your child's grade, and asking me for questions. I'm always happy to come out and talk to parents if need. Let's talk a little bit more about registration specifics. The Newton DI registration fee is $135 per student. I am very this number because I know that in Newton, as a Newton parent, I pay for tons of activities, sports and music and supplemental fees for Newton public, enrichment activities. And it gets to be a headache. So we've really tried to edit this down and pare the price down so that it's just covering the basics. What the $135 per student does is allows us to register each team with the DI Global organization. It also allows us to register each team with the Massachusetts DI organization. So I handle all that administration for you. It also accommodates t-shirts and materials for the team. There are a few supplemental fees, like obviously snacks and pizza and waters or whatever for the team. And in the rare event that your team does go to global tournament, that's an additional fee that this 135 doesn't cover. But in the scheme of, if you're comparing this to many of the sporting clubs and other enrichment activities in Newton, we feel that it's a pretty fair price. As far as registration, I have this Google form that can be accessed through our website. What I will do afterwards is follow up with you via email and send you this link so that you can either go to the website and click on the Google form or click directly on the link and handle your registration. Registration is open now and will be running through September 9th, 2016, at which time there will be a late fee assessed. The idea here is to try to give us enough time to make sure that we get all teams formed and within a reasonable time. There are need scholarships available. If you need that, please email me. Again, I will be following up, so you'll have my email address on file. And that being said, I'm sure you might have questions that will follow up. Again, I will be sending you an email. If you would like to speak further offline, after I send that email, please respond and let me know your questions. If I can't answer them through my frequently asked questions, I'd be happy to get on the phone with you. I'd love to come out to your elementary school or middle school or high school and talk to a group of parents if that's something that you're interested in. Again, this is something I'm very passionate about. We're looking forward to having your family and child or children involved in the program. And again, thank you so much for listening to this webinar. Have a great day. Bye.